Welcome back. I'm still with the CEO of OUTA, Wayne Duvenage, and the Financial Mail Deputy Editor, Sikonathi Mantshantsha, as we discuss Eskom and the issues confronting the power utility. And of course, its issues are your issues as well. And you can take part in the conversation on Twitter, hashtag the Modise Network. I want to pick up on what you said earlier on about Eskom becoming an employment agency, yet productivity never increased. One would think that the people who are in charge of these entities know the relationship between money and the employment of a number of people, as well as the productivity of such entities. So where was that idea lost, that as you increase costs, then the output must also increase?
Indeed, the people in charge of Eskom at any point in time understand exactly that relationship. The people that don't understand that relationship were the people in the union buildings and the people at Lutuli House, who actually took over Eskom and told management what to do, and even appointed boards that had no clue whatsoever. All they did was, you're going to go there and you are going to increase jobs, employ more people, and we'll give you a good mark for that. That's what happened. You are going to go there and you're giving that tender and that one to so and so. That's all they did. So the politicians who know absolutely nothing about the business of Eskom took over and made all the decisions and reduced the professionals, the managers, into just tick boxes, into messengers who do as they are told.
But now, Wayne, as you suggest that it makes perfect sense to you that 100 billion rands must be injected into Eskom to assist it to get going. How do you do that if you don't fix some of the things that Sikonathi has already mentioned? Because then it's like throwing good money after a bad situation.
Yeah, no, you can't. There needs to be big conditions to this. And again, it's not throwing 100 billion to Eskom, it's transferring some of the debt to the state.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to fix it. But without a doubt, we have to see efficiencies improve. We have to see job cuts. Without a doubt, you cannot throw people at the problem and leave the staff complement at 45,000. We need to see coal and primary energy costs come down. So what we want to see is efficiencies at every plant, the output per day, the maintenance taking place, make the decisions on where you don't need, close down, whether it is mothballing or closing down the old ones first, do all the sums and the financials, but share this information with the public, because we're not fools. We are watching this, we have analysts, and we want to be sure that Eskom becomes the efficient producer of energy that it once was. The problem with Eskom now, it's competing with new industries that are producing energy a lot cheaper. The independent power producers with photovoltaic energy and wind is coming right down to 60 cents per kilowatt these days, and I don't know how Eskom's going to compete. So it's like trying to run a Nokia shop or a BlackBerry shop, trying to sell BlackBerries, and the whole market is moving to a new industry, a new technology, and that's the death spiral that Eskom is in now.
Let's clear one thing here. We have load shedding as we speak. It's part of our experience now. In the past, it was taken for granted that around this time of the year, you don't touch our electricity, but now we're getting accustomed to that. Is it because of the money issues that we have this problem, or is it to do with the management of the system itself? Because I learned that there is shortage of coal supply, yet we have so many coal mines in South Africa. So people wonder, what is it? Is it the transportation problem? Is it the maintenance problem? Is it a procurement problem? What do you think?
The biggest part, it's all of those. But the biggest issue here, go back to when the Guptas took over Eskom and started supplying coal. Actually, the management of Eskom went out of its way to give contracts that should never have been given to the Gupta family. Now, those companies have been failing to deliver for the past 2.5 years. That's where it all started. The Optimum and Braakfontein, it's all those collieries. It's not been able to deliver. What management then did at Eskom, because they were still trying to cover up for the Guptas, if Tim failed to deliver coal to that power station, they would then divert another truck to that power station, causing shortages at other plants as well, while not being able to fix the problem. That's the major part. So they run down coal stockpiles. to 10 days when they should
but
have 20.
here's the thing. In response, I've seen some of the people who used to work for Eskom suggest that it is because of the old contracts that are there by long-established mines, right?
That is absolute nonsense. All those companies, take your Anglo-American, your Exaro, your everybody who have the 40-year contracts, they have a mine that's dedicated to this with the coal passing all the requirements, conveyor belt going straight to the power station. Figure agreed over 40 years, the coal was reaching the power stations. What happened when Brian Molefe and Machela Koko and Arnold Singh came in? They said, we'll bring all our friends to supply coal, and gave contracts to people who could not physically deliver the coal, who didn't have the resources. So all those old contracts we're talking about, Eskom is running today on that coal. The failure is on the new, not on the new, but on the OUTA mines. That's where the problem was. And of course, Eskom's management went out of its way to turn away people that could deliver coal. Exaro had to close down some mines and lose jobs. And by the way, it's fully black empowered at about 45%. Eskom said, no, we don't want your coal, we'll deal with the OUTAs. And the OUTAs didn't have coal, and we're not interested in delivering coal. That's where it is.
Well,
and
but
poor quality coal when they did.
But here's an additional point that's been made again, is that it was the introduction of the independent power producers that messed it up, and that it is deliberate on the part of the new leadership at Eskom, whether at board level or executive management level, to create this situation that we are in now, so that we feel like we've got a serious problem and calls should be made to privatize Eskom or break it up into components. In other words, that there is an ulterior motive and that it is intentional on the part of those who are in charge to make sure that electricity supply is disrupted, and it's blamed on the independent power producers.
Look, I don't think you can blame this on the independent power producers. The contracts that were entered into in new technology at the time, and expensive technology, that has changed quite rapidly. But those deals were done there back then at high prices, R2 and more, 285 per kilowatt hour. So that's not the case now. But it's not a big percentage of our energy supply. It's a very small percentage anyway. I think what we need to do, and what Sikonathi is talking about, is this idea that Brian Molefe had, that I don't want to own the bakery, I just want to buy the bread. Well, it was such a nonsensical decision, because if you eat all the bread from the bakery, it's best you own the bakery. And that's what Eskom did in the past, which is why its coal was supplied very cheaply. Now we have a situation where this is what happened. They gave the deals to their mates, pushed the cost of primary energy up, and we are stuck with contracts there. Now, hopefully, the new board can go and undo those, because they were corrupt contracts. Hopefully, we can bring back...
You are familiar with the story, because you also have been personally criticized and attacked, right? Machela Koko takes you on repeatedly and says you ignore the fact that there are the independent power producers who may be behind this, and some politicians who want to break up Eskom and privatize it.
Allow me to disabuse you and the viewers of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Actually, anyone who thinks Eskom is being sabotaged in order to give solar panels and wind energy a chance needs to have their head examined. That's the start. And two, the people who propagate that nonsense are exactly the thieves who really sabotaged Eskom in the first place. Those are the people. Now here are the facts. The solar powers, the photovoltaic power that came in the very first deal at R2.85 per kilowatt hour, that is being paid directly by you and I. Eskom is only it only takes the money from you and pays over to those people. R2.85 does not affect Eskom's operations. One. Two, this solar power or renewable energy is less than 3% of Eskom's energy as it stands today. It absolutely does not affect Eskom's finances, because the Department of Energy has stood behind that and has guaranteed it. Eskom gets its own money from the work it does. It simply passes on the fee to the other. So it's people who are trying to disguise and cover up their own corruption and their own wrongdoing, their work which sabotaged Eskom. Those people, by the way, were sitting at the head of procurement at Eskom. Those are the people responsible for the huge cost of transporting coal. How on earth can Eskom buy a ton of coal at 400 rands from this mine and then pay me on my truck to deliver that same ton of coal at 500 rands?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's try and see how we fix Eskom in this short time that we have left. The idea is that you take 100 billion rands off Eskom's books and put it in the state so you can minimize interest rates and the pressure on their finances. But practically speaking, we've identified problems. If we were to fix it within the next 3 months or so, what should we do? Where would you start, Wayne? And briefly, I'll also ask you.
I would start by bringing down the cost of primary energy by scrutinizing and taking away all the contracts that you can that were entered into maliciously and incorrectly. I would start by taking out, certainly at management level, those individuals that you don't need, reduce the benefits, reduce the waste. The contracts that we have just in replacing computers in Eskom, all of those contracts, not just the coal ones. So go deep into the analysis and the forensics of what you can do to save costs. The first thing, look at your journey. It's not going to happen overnight. Start reducing the headcounts, and I would get an end to Medupi and Kusile as fast as possible. You have to stop those projects from spending the money that we're doing.
Some of the things we're talking about require political will anyway. So where's the political will going to come from, Sikonathi, and what do you think is likely to be done and may not be done? What do you think?
Again, Tim, I wish to take Wayne on his last point.
Yeah.
You do not drive the vehicle that was built in 1968 and think you'll run smoothly. That's the vehicle you need to be recycling. Take it out of the system. Fast track Medupi and Kusile as far as possible. That 1968 vehicle will cost you more. Eskom has got those power stations. Those are what costs more. Now you need to get rid of those and get the new ones working. Political will. The Eskom is now going about it systematically when they are trying to cut jobs. They say, okay, we'll start at the top, at the executive level, which is the right thing to do. They are cutting there's about 700 managers when they should have at least about 300 managers. So step by step, and you offer people severance packages, and you certainly freeze employment. No one comes in. Everyone who's ready can get out. Starts at the top. All the way down. Of course, that labor is not going to just roll over and say, yes, go ahead and do it. Then it comes to the matter of the 100 billion rand. I repeat again, you need at least 200 billion rand only to drop that level of interest that you must pay and start fixing the money, putting the money into the operation. Political will, you possibly will have to wait for the elections for the government to say, okay, we possibly can...
We'll go this direction or we'll go that direction.
Yeah. Tax, the option that Wayne is proposing of 100 billion rand, you and I will still be paying. There's no free lunch. Either way, we will pay, and there are painful decisions.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for having been my guests. It is our problem. Nothing we can do about it but to continue engaging and sharing thoughts on what has to be done at Eskom so that we have uninterrupted power supply. And of course, this poses the biggest threat to the economy. I'm sure in your homes you'll be continuing to talk about this. And thank you for joining the Modise Network. And tune in again next Saturday. From us, have a great day.